Now for this video, I've tried to come up with so many titles because there are so many ways you can title this video for Lily as a character. I think the main reason as to why that is that Lily's character is so complex that I feel her having multiple ways to decipher her character makes sense. But it's about time that I go and try to break down Lily's character and see what exactly went down for her to go through the road that she went through, because the comparison from season 1 to season 4 is such a change that it needs to be looked at. Let's take a look at what really made Lily change in the series. Our first appearance of Lily in Telltale's The Walking Dead is in the first episode of season 1, where Lee and the rest of the group from Herschel's land in a nearby drugstore where they meet other survivors. What we get from just observing her and hearing from other people in the group is that Lily seems to be the leader, or at least the person calling the shots. With this, Lily is shown to be that for the rest of episode 1, 2, and the portion of episode 3. But in my opinion, I think that Lily wasn't supposed to be the quote-unquote leader of the group, but instead I feel as though she was forced to become the leader, this being influenced heavily by her father Larry. Now the few things that we know of Larry besides being the father of Lily is that he was a retired US veteran. So that combined with the fact that the apocalypse is upon them, I think Larry by nature thought for Lily to be a leader would be a good idea, which we can clearly see from some of the dialogue between the two in the drugstore.
They've got kids, Lily.
Those things outside don't care.
Maybe you should go join him then. You'll have something in common.
God damn it, Lily. You have to control these people.
Carly and Glenn just ran out there.
I don't give a flying fuck. We're in a war zone.
With this, it begs the question as to whether or not Lily was mainly put in the role of being a leader without her will. If you notice with Lily's character, especially during the argument inside the drugstore, it was seen that she's forcing herself to be assertive and controlling, as some of the dialogue she shows doesn't seem for her to be the type to be the head of everyone, as well as questioning her father's motives.
We gotta throw him out, or smash his head in.
Kenny, stop him!
Lee, what do we do about this guy?
Dad, it's just a boy. It's...
Lily, I'll handle this.
But your heart, Dad. You need to calm down. Everyone chill the fuck out! Nobody is doing anything.
Shut up, Lily. Ooh, I'm upsetting him. Upsetting is getting eaten alive.
Dad, we get it. It's a big deal.
Do you? You're not fucking acting like it.
Besides that, Lily for the most part doesn't necessarily seem to be the type to be that assertive. At least from talking with her a few times, she's shown to be quite kind to Lee, especially at the end of episode 1. Going into episode 2, we do see the outward portrayal of Lily's character as she seems to be more outspoken, especially with the situation of Lee and the group bringing new people into the motor inn. But what keeps appearing throughout episode 2 is you would see subtle hints of Lily in a way seeking approval from her father about being the head of the group. Again, there's lines that not just Lily but also Larry says that hints to whether or not Lily is just playing a role to appease her father.
I don't see any of you stepping up to make the hard decisions. My girl's got more balls than all of you combined.
Dad, please. Why don't you go help Mark with the wall?
One of the things that caught my attention in episode 2 was when Lee hands out the food rations to the people. If he ends up giving food to Lily, she says, "I don't want anything from you. This doesn't change anything." And when Lee says that he doesn't envy Lily and wonders how she can do the role she does every day, she says, "I don't have a choice."
Here.
I don't want anything from you.
Take it anyway. You need to eat.
This doesn't change anything.
This is very interesting to me because with the first 2 lines, we could obviously tell the reason she says that Larry instilled into her about Lee's past, and that odds are telling her to keep a certain narrative about him. This being supported about if you tell yourself about your past to Lily in episode 3.
Or, everyone will know that you, Lee Everett, are a killer. And you were before it was something you had to do to stay alive. I know who you are.
Before all of this.
Shit.
What?
Dad said there was something about you.
So you know.
I didn't know what to know.
Well, it's true. And I'm sorry.
He treated you like shit, knew who you were, and you tried to save his life. The last thing you need to do is apologize.
Thank you.
You killed a guy. So what? I bet he was a dick.
Well, it ruined my life.
Good thing everyone else's got destroyed shortly thereafter, huh? Misery loves company.
But the last line, "I don't have a choice,"
I don't envy you. I don't know how you have the strength to do this every day.
I don't have a choice.
to me pretty much solidifies that Lily doesn't really have full control of her actions and is forced into a mold that her father wants her to be in, and how everyone by default put her in that spot. Which is also why I theorize that the reason as to why Lily is so keen on staying at the motor inn is that she doesn't want to make a mistake, and that since the motor inn is pretty secured in that way, is the one thing that she has going for her that she can showcase to her father that she has everything in control. With this, it would make sense as to why she's very on edge throughout the episode, trying to keep everyone in line. Up until Larry ends up dying, her character changes in a way where now we see her mourning as the group leave the St. John's, even having a moment to express that feeling. And because of that death, she now mentally is unstable going into episode 3. But with this going into episode 3, we can clearly see that Lily is quite frankly paranoid, scared, and lost. The amount of pressure to be the leader that everyone expects you to be, which you yourself didn't necessarily want, to losing the only family she had left, to then honestly being afraid, frankly she doesn't know what to do with herself. Which everyone picks up on that after the conversation they had in the beginning of episode 3.
She'll get over it.
She's riling everybody up otherwise.
You understand, Ken.
All I know is, whenever this shit happens, I'm the fucking bad guy. I'd like a thank you for once. For once!
With her wound up the way she is, I don't want to see her paranoid.
And though it's tragic, it makes sense as to why Lily shoots Carly. The stress and the betrayal of somebody in the group to hand over supplies to the bandits to add on the cherry on top comment that Carly made of how she's scared and doesn't take care of people like Lee does, it makes sense for her to feel some type of way to the point of murder. I think the best way to describe the position that Lily got herself into is she in a way feels betrayed from everything and everyone. From the point of whether or not you leave her on the side of the road or she leaves with the RV, from either of those points where she ends up not being in the group, she takes survival into a whole different light. Sure, when we first meet her and her father, the word survival was used lightly in terms of staying alive, but from this point up until we see her in episode 4, survival to her means by any means necessary to do anything whether right or wrong to help her own benefit. Taking a look back, she was betrayed by her father for not letting her be her own person and instead was put into this leadership position. With that, felt betrayed by the group because the majority of the group dislikes her because of the actions she takes being a leader, like handing out food rations.
You think this is easy for me? Everyone's starting to hate me because I'm the one that rations the food, but nobody else wants to.
Her dad ends up dying by one of the group members, Determinant, who though he apologizes, says it had to be done, and on top of that says it's up for her to decide whether or not she wants to work within the group. So really just disregarding her emotions and how she's feeling after literal seconds after her father dying.
What the fuck? I'm so sorry. It had to be done.
You don't know that!
Yes, I do, Lee. And so do you. I was counting on you, man.
If we're gonna survive this shit, we got to work together. How do you expect Lily to work with us after what she just saw you do?
If she wants to live, she'll work with us. If she doesn't, then the hell with her.
Gets betrayed by the group again from someone giving away supplies to the bandits, which though she never truly found out who it was, she still goes insane. And the last part which I feel hurt the most was Lee's decision to leave her or not. Reason I feel though Lee's choice for her was the most hurtful because despite her father's narrative about Lee, Lily trusted Lee the most. I mean, if you pay attention, you would realize that Lee was there for a lot of things that she went through. Even from her side, she defended him physically and emotionally.
We've been putting our lives on the line doing these runs into the city. You wouldn't believe the shit we see.
We all appreciate it, Ken.
Y'all should be giving Lee hell for not doing what needed to be done.
It's not so easy for him.
But in a few minutes, we're gonna be stuck in a locked room with a 6'4", 300-pound, seriously pissed off dead guy.
Fuck you! We can bring him back! Lee!
Come on, Lee. You can't be in the middle on this one. You gotta have my back this time.
God damn it, Lee, I need you! Please help me!
Lily, I'm sorry. We gotta go.
I know. I just need a minute to say goodbye. Hey, we're good. Okay?
So to see that Lee made the choice for her on the side of the road, in her mind she felt the most betrayed by him, which is why she decides to throw a curveball to degrade Lee by mentioning his past with killing the state senator as a way to get back, but it doesn't work.
Murderer, Lily! We can't have you with us.
I'm a murderer? You've had Lee with you this whole time.
I don't care what he did before.
You know?
Yeah, he told me. I don't give a shit. If we keep you with us, how long until you get me?
I was trying to protect all of us. I don't have anything left.
All of this is the reason for what she becomes in season 4. If you would notice, when we first meet Lily is during the moment where she meets Clementine years after the events of season 1. Take notice how for the first moments she's actually is pleased to see Clementine, even deciding to give her a hand when she's on the ground. But there are some lines where she mentions that if Lee were to have left Clementine, then he would have survived longer. If Clementine were to leave AJ, then she would be able to survive longer, and more along that.
Lee should have never let me stay with the group. It was too easy to steal the RV and leave. He had too much faith in other people. Probably why he kept you around. Probably why he didn't make it. Same thing will happen to you if you repeat his mistakes.
There is one line though that explains and truly defines Lily's change of character in season 4, which is where she says,
"It's an us or them kind of world, Clem."
Lily, from all that we mentioned about her and how she came to be from season 1 to 4, the whole time she victim blames herself so much to the point where she doesn't believe in the concept of trust, love, friends, and so on, because she felt betrayed by the group that she was leading, to where now all she thinks about is survival and nothing else. So now with that mindset, it gets interesting because now with her meeting Clementine again, she in her head is constantly fighting back the idea of survival and everything before. Family, trust, love, friendship, etc. So with seeing Lily again for the second time, with Lily's group, the Delta, go on to raid the school, there's things I want to mention, which one is where Lily is almost disgusted by the idea of how Clementine turned out to be because of Lee saying, "God, you're just like him," and Lee would have been heartbroken knowing he taught you all the wrong things.
You've changed. I grew up. I can see that. God, you are just like him. Lee would have been heartbroken knowing he taught you all the wrong things. That the sweet little girl he protected turned out like this.
With this, I feel as though the reason as to why she says this is less with the fact of what happened on the side of the road and everything before, but more with what I said about her now fighting back the idea of survival and family, since Lee was a huge example of what family means. 2. The moment where Clementine gets pinned by Lily after fighting Abel, take notice on how distressed Lily is, even sounding like she's tearing up when having the opportunity to kill Clementine. She's emotionally so out of it because I feel in a way she wants to believe what once was. But over the years, she was molded into a different person because of how the world is now, and how she was treated during the early days in the outbreak.
Shit, this should be easy. You won't kill me. I know you won't. Why? We were like family once. You won't hurt family.
I mean, there's little details like her always referring to people as soldiers or my crew, always making sure it's never that personal. Also with the scene at the Delta where Lily is explaining the story of Minerva and her sister, you will see the amount of manipulation she instilled in them to make them work for her benefit. In addition to manipulation using words like loyalty to persuade people into doing things that normally they wouldn't do. Again, using people, like I said earlier, for her own benefit, which I think James said it best.
Nothing to say?
You don't fucking scare me.
Is that so?
You force your ways onto others. Because you're afraid. Because you're weak.
Now up until the third scene with Lily, where you eventually have the decision as to whether you kill or let Lily go, which letting her go kills James in the process. In my headcanon, I believe Lily staying alive makes the story narrative better, so for now I'm just going to go with Clementine sparing Lily's life. Once Clementine spares her, the last time that we see her is her paddling away on a raft, escaping the aftermath of what the Delta has become. Of course, during this time, Clementine and Lily have their last bits of dialogue towards each other before parting ways. However, there's a piece of dialogue that stood out from Lily where she goes on to say that nothing lasts and that it will all fall eventually.
Nothing lasts, Clementine. Not friends, not love, not the place you call home. They'll all fall eventually. Never forget that, or they'll drag you down too.
Which, like we went over earlier, this line actually solidifies everything that we talked about. And depending what choice of dialogue you choose actually shows different facial expressions for Lily, in which it feels as though certain ones may impact her a lot more than saying another. Even towards the end, you can see that it seems as though she truly is pondering over all the events that just happened, and heck, maybe the past in season 1. I truly do believe though that she's trying her best to see and maybe her way of thinking is wrong. Like something inside her is telling her that maybe there is still that family aspect in the world still. But one of the dialogue, if he decided to shoot the last arrow towards her, she goes on to say,
Fuck you, Clementine.
Just hearing her voice, it seems as though she's breaking up or is torn apart inside. Which just feels as though from Lily's perspective, Clementine is the last remnant of what it was like in the beginning of all that has happened in the world. I mean, there definitely were moments with them two that seemed as though they were like family. Also times where Lily was concerned for Clementine's well-being.
Okay, we line everybody up. Everybody. Somebody is killing us. Stealing from that supply is the same as slipping into your room at night and cutting your throat while you sleep. You die. What is the difference? What if Clementine gets sick and we don't have what we need?
And to then years later, who would have thought that the same little girl she was protecting at times, she would be trying to kill her. So in a way, if Clementine shoots the arrow, Lily feels as though her way of thinking is still valid. What was then is not what is now. Every other piece of dialogue besides the different expressions is more or less the same outcome, where Lily ponders for a moment and leaves for us to never see her again. Okay, so what changed in Lily? What did we get out of this to really understand what her character is about? The best way that I would describe as to what happened to her is that she was a broken person, in which unfortunately the events that happened to her and her dumb decision to murder a person in her group made it to where her brokenness never mended. And so she lived with the idea that it's me or them, and that the concept, idea, situations, whatever you may call it, family, love, friends, trust, is not reality anymore. So for years she wandered around, eventually finding the Delta, which though she found a quote-unquote home, I don't believe it was on a loving sort of level, but more so orderly, if that makes sense. More so a place to provide her things for her to survive, but not exactly in a family loving sort of way. Which with her saying they'll all fall eventually, never forget that, or they'll drag you down too, seems to me she doesn't see her people as people but just things to benefit from. To be frank, it wouldn't be insane to think she'll be alone in the end, especially with her way of thinking. One thing that truly amazes me is how much of an impact Lee had towards her. First thing when meeting Clementine is her mentioning Lee's presence and coming to a conclusion that he's dead. Then talking about his way of raising her, to then blaming Lee at the end for leaving her on the side of the road, which was her own fault for what happened. To wrap everything up, I wanted to show you guys how easy it could have been for Lily to not be in that situation that she got caught up in. Going back to season 1 episode 3, we of course have been through the story enough to know that everyone was having an argument over the leadership, the missing supplies, etc. This conversation eventually ends as Lily tells everyone to get out. Take note that Lily only realistically had to make one move to prevent everything that happened on the road to not happen, which was to humble herself and take accountability that she wasn't capable at the moment to not lead the group. She even admits not too long after that she's a mess.
I'm sorry. I'm a fucking mess right now, but I'm not stupid. I know what happens if I start a witch hunt.
Who knows if she decided to let Lee or Kenny be the new leader, whether or not the outcome would have been different, since for her to not do that in the main story makes a lot of sense because of what happened to her dad, which further enables her to not trust some people in the group. All in all, like a lot of people, Lily was part of a group of people that were broken so much to the core that unfortunately enough led her to do rash actions, shape her into a person that would do anything to get what they want, leaving the old person behind to never be seen or acted upon again.